Paulo.
Paulo. Okay. And where are you from, Paulo?
Oh, I'm from Brazil. I live in the city of São Paulo. Do
Oh,
you know São
nice.
Paulo?
I know it's very, very big.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it is. It is
I
really big.
your city of Sao Paulo is already bigger than my whole country of New Zealand. New Zealand's population is 5
Uh,
million people for the whole country.
in the city of São Paulo, we have, I think, it's 14 million people.
Crazy. Amazing. Yeah.
Yes, and
New Zealand is very, very small.
one thing, New Zealand is no, my dream is go to New Zealand.
Ah,
And
okay.
yes, I
Yeah, where
don't know
it's a very,
why.
very
Oh,
beautiful, lots of nature, lots of scenery, hiking, beaches, things like that. I think a lot of people want to come and see that.
yes, yes, and the, in Brazil, we usually the Brazilians like to visit Canada, US,
Ah,
and
okay.
Europe, London, but no one talk about New Zealand. And I
Ah,
think
okay.
New Zealand is beautiful. I love it, and everything's beautiful, and it's a safer country. There, I don't know, the politics are really honest, you
Oh,
know.
yeah, yeah. I think
Uh,
a lot of people like that about New Zealand. Yeah.
yes, it's a perfect country. I don't know, and where in
There
New
are
Zealand?
still there are still some bad things. Like we still have some gangs, but it's not as big
Uh,
as other countries' problems. If there's some gang problems or some burglaries or something like that. But I think every country has that.
yes,
Yeah.
I think too. But where in New Zealand do you live?
So I'm from the North Island, a place called Hastings. I'll type it for you. At the moment, I'm living in Cambodia, but I moved back to New Zealand at the end of this month. So this is
Ah,
this is the area in New Zealand that I come from. It's in the North Island. It's very popular for wineries and orchards like fruit trees, apples, stone
mm,
fruit like plums or nectarines or apricots, things like that. Um,
ah,
so it's very popular for growing like farmers and things like that. But it's nice because we have some beaches and we have some like nice like outdoor areas, which is good. Yeah.
I see, I see.
But I've been away from New Zealand for 1 year, so I'm very excited to go home.
Yes,
I've
yes.
been living in Cambodia teaching English in Asia. So I've been here for 1 year, and it's nice, but it's not New Zealand, so I want to go home.
Yes, and visit your parents, your family, your friends.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and go to a country where I speak the language.
Ah, yes. And what language the people speak in Cambodia? I don't
In
know.
Cambodia, they speak a language called Khmer. This language here is
Ah,
an old Buddhist language. The population speaks Khmer, but like some of the younger population speak English. So sometimes I can communicate fine in shops, but if I go to a market or somewhere where the people are older, then it's a lot harder to communicate. I have to hold something up and I'm like, two, this one, two. And they're like, okay, okay.
ah,
Yeah.
yeah, it is complicated. My
Yeah.
grandparents were from Japan, and
Oh,
they came
okay.
here in Brazil. I don't know. I think it was uh, after the First World War,
Uh-huh.
and
Uh-huh.
I don't know how they communicate with Brazilians because Japanese is so different than
Yeah.
Portuguese, and in that time, at that time, they didn't have a cell phone.
They can't translate or anything. Yeah. Did they
Yes,
did they learn
and
Portuguese? Did they
they
learn the language or? Hmm.
learn it, but they uh, couldn't speak very well, just a few
Yeah.
words.
Yeah.
It was
Wow. They were just trying to look for like a new life or, new jobs or something like that.
Yes, yes, because at that time Japan was really bad because of the war
Mm,
and everything.
mm.
So they went to Brazil, and it was in a ship, So they spent 30 days in a ship to get here. It's crazy.
Yeah. That's what my grandmother, she left England and she came to New Zealand in the
Hmm.
50s, in the 1950s. So she did the same thing. She came on a boat to New Zealand. But my grandfather, he was already in New Zealand. So she met a local person in New Zealand, but she came to New Zealand by
Ah,
herself. So I always think like it must be so hard for her. New Zealand, you still speak the same language, so that's okay. But to leave your family and your country and go all the way across the world to a new country by yourself, it's crazy to me. If you want to write a letter
yes.
home, for me, if I want to go call home, I can just call, have a conversation, send a photo. But back then, nothing.
Yes,
So
yes.
it's,
I
yeah.
think our grandparents are more, they have more, had more courage than
Yeah,
us.
definitely. Yeah, I think so. Because people say to me, "Oh, you're so brave. You went to a new country." But if I miss my mom, I can just call her. It's
Yes,
easy.
yes,
Yeah. I don't have to
exactly.
send a letter, then wait for a reply like a month later.
Oh,
Mm.
yes, yes. And that this kind of thing can sometimes motivated me because I want to live abroad one
Uh-huh.
day. New Zealand is my first option, and I really like Ireland too. But
Oh,
I no, I'm afraid to live abroad.
I think
And I
it's
know
it's
that.
something at first it can be very scary. Like when I first got here, I was like, oh my gosh, what have I done? I don't know the language, I don't know the culture, everything's different. But it takes, after 2 or 3 months, you feel a lot more comfortable, and you realize, all people are the same. We have the same interests and the same hobbies and things like that. So across the world, it's nice. I think it's important to experience.
Ah, yes. And
Yeah.
what was your, the most shock cultural, is correct?
Like
Cultural
culture
shock?
shock.
Yes.
Uh, I think the hardest thing here was moving, because New Zealand is a developed country, moving from a developed country to a developing country, seeing like the poverty and the homelessness, it was very, very hard for me. Like, um, you walk down the street and there are families just sleeping in an alleyway or something like that, which I've
Mm,
never seen before. So for me, that was really heartbreaking, to see, that sort of thing. But then, after a bit of time, you realize like these people, they moved from the province to the city. They're trying to get a better life, and the government didn't really look after them or something like that. So that's very hard, I think, for me to see, because of course, coming from New Zealand, I think we have quite a good government, and people are there's still poverty and things like that, but people are better cared for by the government. So that was probably the hardest thing, and then also just not knowing anybody and trying to make some friends, or like I have some work colleagues now and stuff like that, but at first I felt very lonely and very isolated, but after a little bit of time you can get over that.
ah, yes, yes. And
Mm.
do you think the Cambodian guys, I don't know how is the name of the people who lives in Cambodia, but
Uh-huh.
they receive you well? Like,
Yeah,
oh, they are
they're
really
very
polite,
welcoming. Yeah, very welcoming, very
welcoming.
friendly. They like foreigners, they like tourists. Yeah. So that's good as well.
Ah,
Oh, Paulo,
awesome,
thank you.
awesome.
Thank you for talking to me today. Our time is almost going to run out.